Just a heads up, this video will contain spoilers. So I just finished watching the first episode of the Halo TV series, and this is all off the cuff, so forgive me if my thoughts are a little disoriented or all over the place. But we knew what this series was going to be after we saw the trailers. We knew what to expect, but call it hopium, call it copium if you will. I still held a little bit of hope that this show could be something special. However, I was mistaken. So let's start off with what I did not like. As the show starts off, and so they cut to this Asian colony on the outskirts or whatever, insurrectionists, whatever you want to call it, right? We cut to there, they're having a conversation at the little table or whatever. They start talking about the Spartan and they hyping them up. And then we cut to Quan. And immediately I knew I would hate this character. And within the first 5 minutes of the show, I am watching this teenage girl do drugs with her friends. She picked a bunch of shrooms, say, oh yeah, man, let's do it, guys. So she goes to the friends to do a bunch of shrooms. I'm like, this is how you start off the episode. Once I saw that set the complete tone for the episode. Then the Covenant comes in, starts murking people, killing people, effing stuff up, right? Now, in the trailers, the production and the action scenes looked really cool. I thought that was going to be the redeeming quality. I already knew the story would be trash and be hot garbage, but I thought that the actual fight scenes and the production would be top notch. I don't know if I'm tripping. Maybe it's my TV, but the production quality and the fight scenes did not look impressive. The Covenant, the aliens didn't look good. I didn't like the designs. I didn't like the way they moved. Now, I could be tripping. I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. But it didn't look as crisp and as sharp and as fluid as on the trailer. Chief comes in, and let me say this about Chief. I understand. Like, I don't know the logistics behind the matter, right? I don't know if the voice actor for the game got offered and simply refused, or they just wanted to go a different direction entirely because they wanted to take off the helmet. But I tried my best to just get used to the current voice actor and not think about the video game voice actor. But it's so hard listening to Master Chief. No disrespect to this voice actor, it's really not his fault. Master Chief's voice is just so iconic, you can't really do it. But I'm like, this sounds so like, like it doesn't resonate. It doesn't sound cool. It doesn't sound badass. It doesn't hit. And so hearing it, I literally cringed every time he said anything. Quanah's squad gets obliterated. They go down to the temple or whatever, and then there's an elite hiding in the cave. I would think that Master Chief would be able to detect the elite because he wasn't even cloaked, but I guess not. I'm not gonna nitpick with that. I just thought he would be able to. But anyways, when he grabs the artifact, he starts to have memories of his past. Now this I actually did like. I thought it was a nice twist for him to have memories of his childhood before they brought him into the Spartan program. I thought that was really cool. It was a nice twist because obviously they didn't want him to remember all of this stuff. Then we get to the prophets. They cut to the Covenant and High Charity, and then they show this emo, lesbian, teenage goth who works for the Covenant or who was raised with the Covenant or whatever her backstory is. What is this? Are you serious? The Covenant hates human beings. Like, they literally see them as like infidels. Like, that's literally it is heresy to work with humans. And you're telling me that she just has this high rank where her and the prophet just having a cool conversation like it's a regular Thursday. What? Really, that's what we doing? This was so bad. And I don't want to hear anything about, oh, well, actually, in comic book 83.4, there was this one human who was raised by the Covenant. I don't want to hear that, all right? The Covenant hates humans. What are we doing here? I've seen some people say because of budget constraints, they had to, have a human antagonist because they couldn't afford to do like all the CGI or whatever all the time. Fine, I guess. But my thing is like, if you're going to do that, can you at least make them cool? Not some emo goth lesbian 12-year-old teenage girl. Really? They wanted a human on their side and that's who they chose. They didn't choose some behemoth of a man, you know, some big burly AWS guy. No, they chose this little girl. Come on. Like, huge misstep. This was terrible. Absolutely trash. So we go on. They send out the order to kill Kwan-Ah because she don't want to cooperate or whatever. And then we get an interesting scene. Miranda Keyes, they made her black because, you know, forced diversity. And Captain Keyes, one of the best characters in Halo, they race switched him too and made him black. Like, why are you doing this to Halo? Why does Halo have to be woke? Like, you already have 99% of the characters are either women or minorities, right? Even without changing races, the majority of characters were women or minorities. But then you said, no, that's not enough. We got to go a step further. We got to make sure Chief's team is a black guy with 2 women. We got to make sure we make Miranda Keyes black. We got to make sure we just have a random Indian woman in there too. We got to make sure Captain Keyes, we got to make sure he is black. Really? That's what we doing. This is forced diversity everywhere. It was so clear what they were going to do with this show when we saw the trailers. So yeah, like I was saying, they give out the order to kill Kwan-Ah. Her and she start talking with each other, and it's very awkward. It's very cringe. She is cringe. He is cringe. They're trying to force this dynamic. This, like, I guess big bro, lil sis maybe, or whatever. I don't really. It was so cringe and awkward. I don't really know what dynamic they were going for, but they were trying to basically, I think, have like a human partner for Chief to humanize him. But hey, dum-dums, you don't need this woman to make Chief human and to humanize him. You didn't have to force her in. You know why? Oh, there's this character called Cortana who did that exact same thing. We did not need this Kwan-Ah, this terribly written character, to do that. We didn't need that. Like, there was no point for that. So, anyways, so they have that, and then he gets the order to kill her. Fast forward, they decide the Chief is going rogue because he turned off all the sensors, he turned off the video feed and all that. So they decide, like, okay, Chief is going rogue, we gotta neutralize him. And so all the soldiers start to assemble. Now, this is the reason the episode went from a 0 out of 10 to a 1 out of 10 for me. That scene with all the soldiers putting on their armors, loading up their guns, right? With all the Spartans, then when the Spartans would start to walk through, and all the soldiers clearing way to let them walk through and then just follow behind them, and they're marching. That scene was so cool, badass, and crisp. And that scene pissed me off so much because that showed me how great and how much potential Halo would have had if they had actual competent writers. When I saw them loading up, that was like, yes! That was the best part of the episode. That was the only good part of the episode. That's what we wanted, more stuff like that. Fast forward, they have this cringe, awkward, trash AWS scene where she has a gun to Chief and like, how can I trust you? And Chief is like, put that gun down. You won't even put a dent in the suit. And I'm like, oh no, don't tell me. Because I knew it was coming next. I'm like, please don't take off the helmet. Please don't take off the helmet. Please don't take off the helmet. Please do not take off the helmet, no matter which. And I'm like, what? They're gonna have him take off the helmet? he took the helmet off. Hey, you can trust me. I'm a nice guy. Look how soft and sensitive I am. We have this bond. I never hurt you. Like, literally, I knew it was coming. And when he took it off, that was the final nail in the coffin. Because they revealed that in episode 1. And they kept his helmet off for the last 10 minutes. Do you know how cringe and corny it is? Having to watch quote-unquote Master Chief with his helmet off. Like, do you know how terrible that was? Like, why did, like, my thing is like, okay, when they said he was going to take it off, I was vehemently against it. But I'm like, okay, maybe maybe he takes it off and we just don't see his face, right? Like, we just see the back of his head or something. Or maybe we see it in, like, the very last episode of the season, and sparingly. I'm like, we saw it in the very first episode for the last 10 minutes, and he just kept it off. He didn't even put it back on. And so, that was terrible. I don't like the whole Chief is gone rogue thing. I didn't like that. I did not like that. It felt very forced. Didn't like that plot line at all. The series is going to be terrible. From all the reviews we've seen and all the details we've gotten from people who've seen it, it sounds pretty bad. And this first episode shows how bad it's going to be. This foolishness y'all put on screen, this horseman y'all, this mockery, this disgrace, this atrocity y'all put on the screen, not going to cut it. See, y'all, what y'all could have done, y'all could have still put in this woke, stupid, race-baiting, forced diversity, contrived foolishness. But if y'all had some crazy cutscenes and some crazy production quality, like the Pelicans was clean, the Phantoms was clean, and it looked just crisp, like the trailer, then this might have been redeemable. But in my opinion, the production was very subpar and very mediocre and underwhelming. Wasn't nothing to write home about. And the story is trash, so So all in all, I did not like it. I gave it a 1 out of 10 or a 0.5 out of 5, however you want to slice it. This was absolutely atrocious. And I am disappointed as a Halo fan after waiting all these years to finally get a TV series, and they put this garbage on the screen. So what it looks like is we're going to be following the 15-year-old teenager. That's what we're going to be following. She took like half of the episode. Like, she was like the main character damn near. Like, we got like 20 minutes of Chief and like 40 minutes of Quan Ah. So, you know, the military sci-fi shooter about super soldiers versus aliens that we were waiting for has been reduced to politics and Quan Ah and her emotional journey of being oppressed by the UNSC and her trust issues and humanizing Chief and Chief taking off his helmet. And you're probably gonna have a scene with Chief crying. So to recap, I liked the scene with the Spartans and the soldiers marching to go neutralize Chief. That was so cool. If we could get 60 minutes of scenes like that, real military nitty-gritty scenes like that, instead of focusing on the drama and all that extra emotional oppression, all that extra BS that was in the episode, if we could focus on the soldiers instead of doing that, that would have been perfect. And I like the whole storyline with Chief getting his memories of when he was a child before they brought him into the Spartan program. But I hate the forced diversity. They made characters that were not black. Every other character is either a woman or a minority. Don't like Chief having to take off his mask. Don't like the way the fights look. Don't like the production quality. I do not like this forced dynamic between Quan Ah and Chief. I do not like Quan Ah as a character. Having her as like the protagonist or pseudo protagonist is a terrible idea. I hate every single character in this show. There's not one likable character in this entire show. They literally made the worst possible decision at every single turn of this adaptation. Like, you know how hard you have to try to make a Halo adaptation absolutely dreadful? And they were able to do that. Here's the thing, nobody was asking or I should not asking. I should say nobody said it had to be canon. While a lot of people would have loved Halo 1, 2, and 3 adapted, it didn't have to be. We just wanted a series that respected the IP and gave us content within the confines of established lore. It did not have to be canon. That's all we were asking for. But instead, they focus completely on the wrong things. They're focusing on UNSC politics, so we end up getting a pissing match between Halsey and the Indian woman whose dick is bigger, pulling rank and all of that. The propaganda, the UNSC versus the insurrectionists. We're following Kwana on her emotional journey. Like, you can have all of that side story drama BS, because at the end of the day, again, it's a TV series. You want to have some drama BS, but you don't need it because it's Halo. You literally don't need it, right? If you just follow the established lore, it would work itself out. But I understand if you want to put it in because y'all gonna have to F it up somehow. Make that a side story. Don't make that the main thing. Master Chief literally felt like a side character. The Grand Threat of the Covenant felt like a side story. The main story is literally Kwana. Nobody wants to see that. Core Halo fans don't want to see that. Casual Halo fans don't want to see that. And I know they're going to say some stupid BS like, oh, we did this because they want to reach a large audience. They want to reach non-Halo fans. Well, let me say something to you. The only people who are going to be truly invested in this series were core Halo fans. And core Halo fans are not like maybe the casuals who just want anything Halo and just gonna eat up anything. They'd be like, ooh, finally, big screen. But the core, hardcore Halo fans who are going to actually carry the series, they're not going to like this. So they're not going to mess with this foolishness. And the quote-unquote larger audience that you were trying to reach by going this different route, that's not going to work. Ain't nobody watching this with their girl. Like, you really think that someone who doesn't know what Halo is, somebody mom, somebody dad, somebody girl, somebody nephew, like somebody who don't know what Halo is, they're gonna go see Halsey with the Indian woman arguing about rank? You think they're gonna look at that and be like, oh, seems like something I want to watch? Really? What you need, what you focus on doing is making a good series, a good core series with good writing, good action, good storytelling, all of that, and then the fan base will come. But you respect the IP. You do like Game of Thrones did in the beginning. That's it for my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below your thoughts on the first episode. And I'm out. Peace.